Hello again, and welcome back to Educator.com's Introduction to PHP course. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about what are known as constants. Particularly in this lecture, we're going to be going over the difference between constants and variables. We're going to talk about how to name a constant, talk about constant identifiers. We're going to talk about the different ways that you can declare constants within your PHP code. And then we're going to go over some coding conventions that we're going to use for this course when it comes to constants. We're also going to talk about the server or underscore server superglobal variable, which is a superglobal variable like the underscore get variable that we've used to process form data. And we're including that description in this lecture because it's something that's often used when defining constants in web application configuration files. So, basically what is a constant? Well, as the name implies, it's a value that doesn't change. In PHP specifically, it's an identifier that you can assign a value to. However, unlike a variable, once it's been assigned a value, that value can't change during the execution of the script. And this is something that's actually enforced by the PHP interpreter. So if you define or declare a constant and set it equal to one value and try to do it again later in your script, you're going to get a warning, and then also the redefinition is not going to work. One other difference between constants and variables is that variables can be used to hold any PHP data type. Arrays, the scalar data types, a special data type like null. However, constants can only be assigned scalar data types, which is, as we know, is integer, float, string, and boolean. So it can only be one of those four data types. Additionally, just to mention, as mentioned, constants are often used in what you'd call config files for defining data values that you use or constant values that you use in many places throughout your web application. I say things that never change because basically they change, but they're not going to change during the execution of your web application. Examples might be the sales tax rate, which isn't going to change very often, and maybe you'll have an email form on your website, and you always want it to email to a default administrator's email address. That's something that you could define as a constant. Now the way constant identifiers work is similar to variable identifiers. The one big difference is that they don't begin with a $sign. Other than that, all of the same rules apply. They have to start with an underscore or letter, and then after that they can be any combination of letters, underscores, and numbers. So here's a couple examples of four different constants that we've declared. And for example, we've declared a different constant for each of the different scalar data types, which are the only types, again, that you can use to assign to a constant identifier. So we created one: days in the week equals 7, set the sales tax rate to 10%. We have a string that we set to a server name, Educator.com, and then we might have a Boolean constant in our configuration file that says, are we going to require a password? And in this case, we set it to true. One thing to note in particular is that unlike variables and variable identifiers, you can't use a constant within a double-quoted string. So variables, you can make use of variable interpolation, but that does not work for constants. If you put a constant name within a string, it's just simply going to output the name of the constant.